I saw some videos on the Sleep in Heavenly Peace website, and what grabbed me was the stories of the volunteers themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Let me tell you my Hank story. This is a little later on. This is about 3 years after we started it. You know, we were building every year. Once a year, we were having this build day event, right? And I remember I just got a rundown warehouse, and I wanted to this build day, I wanted to open it up to everybody, right? And it was the first time I actually sent like a newspaper press release out there saying, hey, I've got a build coming up on Saturday. If you want to build beds for kids, come on down to this location. Now, this is January of December in Idaho in a warehouse that doesn't have heat. I didn't expect much, to be honest with you. I was hoping, and we got a lot of people. It was great. But I remember one specifically, in walked this guy named Hank. Now, Hank was about 500 years old. I mean, this guy he was an old dude, but he had this grandpa smile. I mean, you look at him and he'd smile, and oh my gosh, he was your grandpa. I mean, instantly. And he did something very unique. He had these little thank you cards. It said like, thank you for your service or something, as I recall. And he was handing them out to these other volunteers. We hadn't even started yet. And he was thanking them for showing up. And I remember thinking, oh, this is not this guy's first rodeo. He's done this before. Well, he finally came over to me and he says, okay, Luke, where do you need me? And my first thought was, well, I don't need you to die, okay? Just to
stay alive.
What we do isn't exactly easy, right? It's pretty physically demanding. You're moving wood around and stuff like that. I said, well, tell me, Hank, what did you do for a living? He says, well, I was a carpenter for 40 years. And I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly where to put you, brother. You know, if there's one station of our assembly line that you can't screw up, it's the cutting of the wood. So I put him on the saw. You know, and it's the most dangerous that we have. So it's got to have an experienced person.
Experience for sure.
Well, you got to remember, like, this is the first public build. Everybody there has never done this before but me. And so for 4 hours, I'm running around helping 40, 50 other people with their stations of how to do it and solve problems. Do this. Well, I forgot about Hank. I forgot about this guy in the back of the warehouse cutting wood. Well, the build was almost over. It was like 3 or 4 hours later. And I realized, oh my gosh, is Hank alive? I forgot. So, you know, I go run back there and I said, Hank, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about you. How you doing? And, you know, he was covered. Eyelashes full of sawdust. His clothes were as white as his hair. And I remember he looked at me and he says, you know, Luke, let me tell you something. I have volunteered at a lot of things before, but I have never showed up to an event. And in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, I was put on an assignment. I was given an assignment, and I couldn't leave that assignment. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't leave it for 4 hours. And I remember thinking, I'm so sorry, Hank. I really felt bad. And I said, yeah, Hank, I'm sorry, man. He's like, no. He said, thank you. And right then, Avi, I learned a very valuable lesson. I learned that, you know what? The happiest volunteers are the sweatiest and the dustiest. Because when you want to take time to volunteer, especially on a Saturday, on a cold Saturday, you got better things to do. You know, as a volunteer, if you want to donate your time, you want to feel like you did something. You want to feel like your efforts meant something. And the more you feel like that, the more fulfilled you walk away with. And that's important. That volunteer experience is so critical to nonprofits. And I was, like many nonprofits, I was trying to make this process as easy as I could because I wanted these volunteers to come back and I didn't want them to overwork them and all this stuff. And it was quite the opposite. These people want to show up. They want to feel like they did something. The only way that they're going to feel that way is if they actually worked hard, right? You know, they were sore. And I learned that from Hank. Volunteers that want to feel fulfilled when they come to SHP and build beds. Most of the time, I hear all the time, that was the funnest service activity I've ever done. Not the easiest, right? And I think that's the point.
I actually don't think that the volunteers have had anything better to do other than volunteering, but that's because I believe in volunteering. I think the most rewarding day that if they would have sat home and again, watched TV, they would not have felt any sense of reward. They would have maybe had a relaxing day, but we want to be purposeful. We want to do things that are going to matter. They're going to move the needle. And this solving of bedlessness is just a fascinating way to do it. It's not only fascinating, it's going to just drive people to do something that's meaningful, like Hank, who couldn't leave the machine.